Hey everyone, you're watching the Superhero Show with Krupa and Chris every Saturday here on IGN. Now this week, not a lot's been going on, so we're actually going to really scrape the barrel this week, aren't we, Chris?
Yep.
So do you want to kick off with the first tidbit?
Okay, so the DC news was announced.
Yeah.
It's massive, it's all over the site. We're going to have a talk about that today. We're going to pick what we're most excited about from this list of films they've announced.
So yeah, they've announced everything pretty much.
Yeah, dated and titled and cast in some cases. So we've got Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice 2016, Suicide Squad 2016 directed by David Ayer, Wonder Woman movie 2017, Justice League Part 1 2017, Zack Snyder directing, The Flash starring Ezra Miller, that was news, 2018, Aquaman 2018, Shazam 2019, Justice League Part 2 directed by Zack Snyder 2019, Cyborg 2020, Green Lantern 2020, and also standalone Superman and Batman films that bizarrely hadn't been dated. So
are they going to fit in somewhere? So that's 2 a year, isn't it, pretty much?
Yeah. Yep.
And some of those years presumably will also contain the new Superman and Batman films. So you might get 3.
Will they have time, or will they be after?
We can't wait 6 years.
No, I suppose you're right.
I don't know.
So
anyway,
that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I'm still kind of digesting it all because so much news dropped, but also in a kind of unceremonious fashion. It was in a kind of investors call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. So, which one of these do you most want to see?
Okay. Little bit obvious. I haven't gone obscure. I haven't said Aquaman or anything like that. I'm going to go obvious. I'm going obvious. I'm going Justice League Part 1.
Okay, not Part 2.
No, well...
Interesting
because of the subtitle, Part 1. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's only going to be a year apart, is that right?
Yes. No, two years apart.
It sounds like that's going to end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Is that a confirmed title?
They'll change the title.
But sure. Part 1, it sounds like they're definitely making 2 films together, probably. Or work. It's almost like a continuous production on these films. At least Snyder, he's going to be doing nothing else, I can't imagine. The kind of films he makes.
Yeah.
He's wrapped up in this, like, for the next 10 years.
But I wonder if they're going to shoot them back to back, if they're going to then leave
wait
a
2 year
gap. I don't think that makes sense.
He does like his special effects, Chris. He does like a visual effect.
Sure.
Anyway, so I feel one reason, I want to see how they manage that many characters on screen, considering a lot of the spin-off movies for those characters come after the film.
Yeah.
So Cyborg, the Green Lantern reboot. Does Flash come after an Aquaman?
Flash is before. No, Flash is after, Part 1.
All the films that establish these characters are going to come after the combination movie, the crossover movie, which is obviously the inverse of what Marvel did. Sure. Marvel spent years, films, laying the pipe necessary to bring them together. So it's interesting to see how they're going to do it the other way around. Obviously, the 2 biggies are going to be up on screen beforehand, plus Wonder Woman.
And there's maybe a chance that they're all going to be introduced. I think they're all going to be introduced in these early movies.
Yeah.
They might all pop up in the Wonder Woman movie as well.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any role for Shazam in the Justice League movie?
Shazam is 2019?
It is, yep.
That's, 4 years away? To announce The Rock now, I feel like he will be involved. I wonder, and a lot of the discussions around The Rock being Black Adam is, look at the success Marvel has had. I'm not always trying to bring it back to comparison, but it's very easy when... Yeah. Marvel have already done this. They've succeeded. They've got a model that really works and people are enjoying. They've had tremendous success with Loki, having that charismatic villain. He's the best villain in the Marvel universe. And they might just look at The Rock and go, he can be that guy, and he might crop up throughout these movies as a kind of sometimes an anti-hero and then segues into full-on villain.
Well, they're going to have no lack of villains because they're doing the Suicide Squad movie so soon as well. And to be honest, that was going to be my choice, only when I heard the casting that they were trying to make happen. It was Will Smith, Ryan Gosling and Tom Hardy. And I'm like, I'm down with that.
Is any of this actually happening? It all sounds... I can't believe anything like this is really happening.
But until they're actually officially cast, I'm going to keep my powder dry. And I'm actually going for the last one on the list, Green Lantern. And do you know why?
Why? Because
I was so disappointed last time around. Yeah. And I think he's such a brilliant character and it's such a brilliant universe that if they could get some of that Jeff Johns magic on screen, it could be the best of the bunch. Yeah. So I think it deserves another go. I mean, by 2020, it'll be a few years removed. Yeah. I guess then the question mark is, who is the Green Lantern and who's the main character in this movie? Because a lot of this seems to be going from New 52, where it's Hal Jordan. But I think people have been burnt by Hal Jordan so recently that, and the fans love Jon Stewart. Yeah. I'd love to see it be Jon Stewart. and I'd even cast it. I want Chiwetel Ejiofor to play him.
What an actor.
He'd be amazing.
He would be amazing. I think he'd be amazing in anything.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be Doctor Who.
So yeah, I just think it deserves another go around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, as always, we'd like to hear what you think. Which of these movies are you most excited for? Are there any that you're slightly sceptical about? As always, email us at IGN_UK feedback@IGN.com.
That's correct.
Brilliant email address. And we always ask you to email in, don't we, Chris?
Yes.
And we never...
We're going to read some out now.
We're going to do a little bit of a mailbag.
Yeah, I think you've got the first piece of mail as well.
So, first one is from Lass Goutstead. I've probably almost certainly said that incorrectly. This email comes from April 12th, 2014. And he says, I have a crazy theory. After the events of Avengers 2, Tony started fearing his own powers after creating Ultron, and therefore initiates the Superhero Registration Act, starting the Civil War against Capside in the next Captain America movie. Iron Man would essentially be the antagonist of that movie, and maybe he could rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. in the process. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? I don't think we read this out at the time.
No.
And then Lassie remembered this, emailed us in and went, called it. So that was in light of the news that Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is in talks to be in Captain America 3 in quite a beefy role, and Marvel are perhaps pursuing Civil War.
Yeah, an adaptation of Civil War. So from the sounds of it, you did indeed call it. I wonder if Kevin Feige has access to our emails, because...
So it's the source of much of his inspiration.
It sounds like that's exactly what's happening. So yeah, thanks for that. I've got an email from Dan Mortimer, who says, with the news of the last couple of days that Robert Downey Jr. has apparently signed on to star in Cap 3 and that this is leading to Civil War, I was wondering what you guys thought about this. Whilst I'm on the one hand very excited about the Civil War prospect and it has been a storyline I would love to see, I can't help but feel that this is a little too soon. With Marvel only developing so far a small roster of heroes, I can't see how it would work all that well. In the comic, it's like a who's who of Marvel characters all battling on a grand scale. With only 4 new characters joining before Cap 3 that we know of, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, The Vision, and Ant-Man, it still feels light, and I worry that over the next few movies they might try and cameo quite a few new faces to flesh out the roster without really giving these guys much screen time. Do you think the reason it may be coming early is that of contracts with the lead actors and a desire to get this story going before they lose RDJ and Chris Evans? And do you think this links with last week's story of Spider-Man possibly joining the MCU?
I think that's a really interesting question, and I think the key is, you know, in comics it's very easy for them to do these huge epic battles because they can draw on 50 years worth of characters, and you know what, you just draw them. I'm not saying just draw them, but that you can have whoever you want. You can bypass all these negotiations and stuff. But I feel like they want a big new event in the Marvel universe to kickstart it, and I feel like the Civil War will do that, and it would be exciting to see these characters turn inward. Yeah, obviously, you're not going to have the luxury of 12-issue runs like you do in comics or arcs or that films that are going to go for years and years, because these actors will get old and they won't be able to play these characters forever, so you do have to kind of expedite these things on camera. I just feel like it will be an exciting scenario that could kickstart the next wave. Do you think they can do it without that many characters there? Do it on more on a small scale?
No, I think that what Dan mentions at the end there, I think that we'll see more characters introduced in smaller roles in these other films, like we're potentially saying will happen with Justice League as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of happened to a degree already. Like we've seen Falcon introduced in Captain America,
Black Widow.
Yeah, they're kind of just there, and they're just kind of additional characters, aren't they?
And the question about with the Spider-Man news being linked with this, I think, where there's smoke, there's fire. All those rumours that were coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Spider-Man in a Marvel movie, which would be awesome.
Bloody hell, what's happening? Right, you're going to throw your paper like last time. Okay, this one is from Trevor Wilson. I feel you guys hit the nail on the head. Bring Tobey Maguire back. He may not be the snarky action star that Garfield is, but he's a sincere, character-driven interpretation of Peter Parker that fits better into the MCU amongst the performances of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. Since the origin of Spider-Man told in Raimi's film is nearly universally known, it won't be something that needs to be shoehorned into a reboot. I think Marvel and Sony stand to make a lot of money by generating the same type of buzz, bringing Tobey Maguire back. Plenty of fans from the new series may be peeved, but I think that Tobey has much more universal appeal amongst audiences, and if Marvel reacquires Spider-Man, I want Tobey back.
I'm a Maguire fan, so
yeah, he's great, Peter Parker, and be interesting to see if they do bring Spider-Man over, whether it is Garfield, and they want to distance the whole kind of Mark Webb's series.
Yeah.
And Maguire, if they wanted maybe an older, more mature Spider-Man, they could, he's been older in the comics, he's been married, he's had a career. I think the only problem with that is you kind of get this kind of weird loophole that why has Spider-Man not been mentioned before?
Yeah.
If he's an older established hero, and events are taking place in New York, and like when the alien invasion happens at the end of Avengers, where is Spider-Man?
Where are you, mate?
Where are you? Washing your uniform.
Good point. I've got an email from DJ Kento, who starts out by saying, "This is going to sound crazy, but hear me out."
Cool. Okay.
Which is an awesome way to start an email.
Okay, DJ.
I don't really want Marvel to be making X-Men or Spider-Man films. Why? Do you think we'd be talking about who's going to play Doctor Strange, asking how is Ant-Man coming along, or talking about how amazing Guardians of the Galaxy was if Marvel could just dip into their grab bag of characters and pull out Spider-Man and Wolverine all the time? I don't think Marvel would take as many risks if they could always just fall back on their established AAA listers. I'm very happy that we're going to be seeing some weird swear word coming out from Marvel over the next 3 to 4 years. But can you imagine how odd the Avengers 3 lineup is going to look? I'm excited.
So I guess you're saying necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I see what you've done there.
If they had access to those characters, it would have been a long time before we would have seen an Iron Man film.
Probably. Yeah, that is quite a good point. But I don't think someone like Kevin Feige would, if they did get Spider-Man or the X-Men, would let that take over his plan for world domination. Yeah,
I think I always point to this. I've said it on the podcast a few times. If you look at the cover for Marvel Lego, the game that came out a couple of years ago, the most prominent character on that cover is Iron Man. Spider-Man's a little character in the background. That would never have happened when I was younger.
And I think he and the people there get a real kick of doing that.
Look at everyone loves Iron Man. Iron Man is the big Marvel character now, which is crazy. Like for me growing up. But it'd be great to cherry pick. Quite additional question: if you could just cherry pick a few characters from the other films, who would you bring over into the MCU? I think you'd want Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
Wolverine.
exactly.
Wolverine. I think he's the one.
Yeah, and like I've said before on this one, Fassbender's Magneto as well. I love watching him on screen.
You could work out a way of doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine if you could have him in a flashback or in kind of a flashback film in the 70s with the other kind of heroes in, maybe an Ant-Man tie-in or something like that.
Down with that.
Anyway, digressing again. Peter Stoving McDonald. After watching the superhero show and thinking about Spider-Man in the Avengers, why can't Marvel just use Spider-Man like they're using Quicksilver in Avengers? So, of course, the Quicksilver character is appearing in Age of Ultron, which is coming out next year, but he's already appeared this year in Days of Future Past, the most recent X-Men movie. There's a kind of a loophole there, because while he is associated with the X-Men, he first appeared in the Avengers. So I think there's some kind of legal loophole, though, where Marvel are free to still use him.
Yeah, and that doesn't exist with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
as long
as they don't refer to him as a mutant, I think. Because I think Fox owned the right to the word mutant in the relation to the Marvel movies. So yeah, I wonder if any of those other kind of loopholes exist with these existing contracts. They might do, in the Fantastic Four universe. But it'd be great to actually be able to get these contracts and actually go through them and see what is kind of possible with the finer print.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll ever
I'm sure Feige has a team of people doing that.
Yeah.
And I've got the final piece of feedback from Dung Guyan, who says, much like Daniel Krupa, Spider-Man is my favourite comic book character, and it is hard for me as a hardcore Spider-Man fan to see The Amazing Spider-Man 2 being more concerned with setting up future films and making money rather than trying to make a good superhero movie. I do believe Marvel can remedy this, but it does highlight the fact that Spider-Man can pull the weight of his own movie, and that an appearance in an Avengers film could result in Spider-Man being underused. The biggest question that comes to my mind is, what if the crossover film were approached like Avenging Spider-Man comics, where Spider-Man would team up with the Avengers, but all the action be in his perspective? Therefore creating character moments and team-ups the fans love, make Sony happy as Spidey will be a good percentage of the movie, and possibly encourage Fox to do the same if the film does massively well. What do you reckon?
I'm still processing that.
Yeah.
I think it's great, and again, I think it falls down to the differences between film production and comic production. In comic production, it's easy to do experimental things and try this kind of 6-issue arc where you take it from this character's perspective. But when you're dealing with budgets upwards of $200 million and then marketing budgets, you want to make the film that will appeal to a wide audience, and that probably is get them all on screen.
Yeah.
And that's why Civil War might do really well. It's getting them all on screen fighting each other.
Yeah.
So while I do think that's a really interesting take and a great way to approach it, I just don't think they would do that, really.
No, well, you're ending the podcast on quite a sad note now.
Oh, no.
But thanks for the feedback.
They were good. We'll do more of those in future.
Yeah, well, let us know which one of these DC announcements you're most excited about. Which one of these movies do you want to see?
So the email address, as always, IGN_UKfeedback@IGN.com. And until then, for everything on Marvel, everything on DC, and pretty much everything else on comics, stay right here on IGN.